They said there's no doubt you'll surely lose. Go ahead and sing your tune. We didn't listen, stayed right on the truth. And now we're on the right side of the news.
Good morning. Welcome to Poke the Hornet's Nest, right side of the news. I'm Nick Gardner. I'm here with
John Knight.
And we got it popping. And Leslie's going to chime in on this this podcast. You know, I thought we might start talking about something else that might get people's attention and make them smile a little bit. Let's talk about funny things our kids have done when they were children. Doesn't that sound like fun?
I mean, it's good to laugh every once in a while.
Yeah. You know, I was in a very unique situation. I used to cut timber, and what we did was cut timber, drink beer, and chase chicks. And I caught a couple. I caught one a little too much because this gal came to my house, and I had gotten busted up. I broke my knee in half, and I couldn't work for quite a while, like 5 years. But this gal showed up at my house with a little boy that was 2 weeks shy of being 5 years old. And she said, I'm in trouble with the law, and I wanted you to meet your son before we left the state. And I said, oh, boy, this sounds like fun, I thought to myself. And I talked her into letting him spend the night. And she was a user of that dummy dust they call methamphetamine and drank too much alcohol, quite a dysfunctional person. And that little boy spent the night, and I got up about 6 in the morning, and I got a picture of me at that age, and I went and saw 4 or 5 grandmas and told them the story. What do you think? He's yours. Well, about a week and a half, she came back to pick him up. And I said, he lives here now. You can come visit when you want. And I got a lawyer, and I had papers that gave me temporary, full physical custody and joint legal custody. And that's all I had the whole time. He lived with me. He never went back. And he had been in a really bad situation. When he showed up, his shoes, he had outgrown his shoes, and they were busted out on the sides to where his 2 toes stuck out on the side. He was dirty. He had long hair, and he had had numerous dads and uncles and this and that. And boy, I took him in, and it was the funnest thing I ever did was raising him. And that's just the short story. We don't need to go any further than that. I do remember one time when Logan was about 6, we were going down Bonneview Road, and we passed, he had a sister that's 10 years older than him. We passed Juvenile Hall, and he says, there's my sister's skull right there. She stays there. Oh, okay, Logan, that's good. I didn't say anything different. She had been in quite a bit of trouble. And anyway, so I have no doubts if I hadn't took control of him, he'd be tatted up, probably metal in his face, and probably have a criminal record. Now he's a functional adult, well-liked, no tattoos, no body piercings or anything. So I'm proud of that. But he used to say some of the funniest things. One day we were going down. I took him to Manzanita School, and we were coming home. We lived in Enterprise, and we go by the ice cream parlor there over here. It's Taste and See now, and it's hot and it's summer. And we're going on home, and he looks at me, he says, can we get an ice cream? I said, no. He says, I want an ice cream. I said, no. He looks at me, he says, I thought you were nice, but I was wrong.
Right.
Of course, I can't give in them, but I had a lot of fun with him doing stuff. I mean, I'd hauled him and his little buddies all over the country, and we just had a rockin' good time. I remember one time, what was it? Oh, I would pick him up from school. He would go to work with me at 7 in the morning, and he'd stay in the pickup or pal around with me while I was washing windows. And then I'd drop him off at school and pick him up. And one day I picked up a couple candy bars. And I didn't tell him I got one for him. So he's sitting on the other side of the pickup, and we're going home, and I open up a candy bar and take a bite. And he looks at me and goes, I says, what? What? He's, oh. So I handed him a candy bar. You'd have thought it was like taking him to Disneyland.
How old was he?
Oh, 6 or 7.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I had rocking good time with him. Took him to Disneyland. That was the funnest trip. You know, it was kind of interesting. My ex-brother, he lives in Alaska. And he called me up and he said, I got a tag to shoot a bear over on Kodiak Island. Do you want to come up and shoot a bear? And I said, well, how's that going to work? You know, and that's something special to go up there and shoot one of those big old brown bears. And I says, well, how's that going to work? He says, well, you fly into Anchorage and Logan can go with my wife. And you and I will fly over to Kodiak and go in and camp for a week and kill a bear and come back out. They would fly you in on those beavers and drop you off. And I thought about it and I said, no, I'd just soon take Logan to Disneyland. That was a good decision. And now that I'm older, I wouldn't want to kill a poor old bear anyway. I like bears.
Yeah, I don't know why. I've never wanted to kill a bear either.
Yeah. I've got a pretty good bear hide hanging on my wall. It's 5'11" from tip of the arms to the tip of the arms and 6 foot from tail to nose. And the reason I killed him, he was coming in and raiding our trailers when we were working up in the woods, staying in the woods. He'd break in during the day, which is unusual. He knew we weren't around, and he would just raise havoc. He tore the door off one guy's refrigerator and ate the lining. Well, you know, kind of messy. You get to drinking beer and you spill stuff all over the refrigerator.
Oh, yeah.
He was just cleaning it up for us.
Right. Bears will eat the funniest things, and when they're determined, they will. When I was a kid, I know I'm supposed to be talking about my kids, but the bear story reminded me.
We can talk about anything we want because it's your station.
Well, this is your show, but if
it's a bad show, I'm gonna give it to you.
We right? We'll see at the end of it or see what people say. I was a kid and we were camping, me and my family, and my dad was fishing down in a fishing hole, and apparently it was a bear's fishing hole. And this big bear, I was so young, I don't remember if it was a black bear or a brown bear.
Was it in California?
It was in California.
It's a black bear.
Okay.
Even if they're brown, they're a black bear.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, well, anyways, but my dad came running up from the fishing hole for his life, and we all jumped into the car to. He's like, get in the car. We all jumped in the car, and the bear, it didn't come all the way into the camp, but it chased him off far enough to where he let him know. But my dad was running for his life, and this bear was chasing him. I mean, the bear wasn't, like I said, it wasn't trying to hurt him. It was just saying, get out of my fishing hole.
Yes.
Yeah.
I live here.
Yeah.
You didn't knock on the door. Go home, white boy.
Yeah, we had a few run-ins when I was a kid. I'm talking about me again, but we had another run-in. We used to raft a lot, and there was a bear in the middle of the Trinity River, and he was in there fishing. And we got out upstream and carried the raft around him and jumped back in and went down on. Yeah, we did a lot of stuff outdoors, a lot.
So did I. My son will tell you, if we weren't camping, we were cutting firewood. I got some good pictures of him. He's like 6. And I had a big, timber falling saw. And I was sawing this Doug fir into rounds. It was probably about 2 foot in diameter. And I got it set just right. And I says, okay, Logan, when I say go, hit the throttle. So here's this little old tiny kid there with his hands on the chainsaw. And I go, and I took a shot, and chips are just flying. It looks like he's running that saw and cutting firewood.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever grinded stuff out in the dark where it shoots the sparks out all crazy in the...
I used to wear caulks, metal spikes in the boots for walking on logs and stuff. And I was working up behind Shasta Lake, and we would go to work at daylight. Well, one day I got there earlier, and I'm walking down through that limestone and stuff, and I look down, and most caulks are shooting sparks in front of me, and I'm thinking, God, that's a wonder we haven't started a fire up here.
Yeah, and that's happening in the day too. You just can't see it in the daytime.
That's right.
Yeah, and static electricity. Have you ever seen that in nighttime or when it's dark?
I never paid much attention.
Yeah, static makes little sparks and stuff too. I'm not saying it would start a fire, but it's just stuff that happens you wouldn't see in the light.
Yeah.
Yeah, my kids are too freaking smart. You know what? It's we don't have a TV, so we don't just put them in front of a TV and say, "Hey, give us a break" or whatever. Our kids are just, they're really smart. So Rory, my 13-year-old, this is the type of stuff he does. I'm like, "Hey, remember, every time you point the finger, there's 4 fingers pointing back at you." And
I never heard that.
yes, well, he goes, "I'm just going to point with my whole hand then." And I was like, oh man, just like that. He is witty and smart, and it's just like, it's everything. I call him Rory the lawyer because he argues his side so well. Sometimes you just have to tell him, "Hey, look, we're not debating about this. It is what it is." And yeah.
Logan and I'd get in an argument about what I want him to do. Why? And finally I'd say, "'Cause I'm the boss and you're not."
Yeah, I never wanted to be the dad because I said so, but there comes a time where after working 10 hours in a day, and if you do a couple hours of chores before that, and then you come home and you got stuff to do, and it's a long day, I have some days are 16 plus hours, and you just don't have energy to argue every single thing, which
That's right.
I love the fact that they're critical thinkers and independent and all that. It's going to.
But I'm daddy. I said no, and I'm tired, so leave me alone.
So when I was a kid, when back in COVID, Rory got a stick, and we saw this video of this lady, and she had a stick, and she was out walking, and she was saying, this is like in 2020, and she was saying 6 feet away, right? And she had a stick, so if anybody came within 6 feet, she'd kind of like poke the stick at him to keep away. I don't know if you saw that video. There was
no, I didn't see it, but
anyways, you get the idea. She's out there walking on the trail saying 6 feet away, right? So
her name was Karen?
I'm sure it was, but so my son had this idea. He was probably, 13, so that was 6 years. So he's probably 7 years old, I guess, something like that. About 7 years old. And he had this idea to make this video, and he goes, "Dad, go get the camera and video this." And he got a stick in the yard, and then we had all the chickens out there. We had little chickens and big chickens, and he started ordering the chickens to say 6 foot of distance away from each other. He's all 6 foot of social distancing, and he went out with the stick. We made this video. It was the funniest freaking thing ever. But yeah.
Oh, well. Leslie, you got any kid stories? She's got a good one. Here she comes. Let's hear it, Wesley.
Oh man, I've got more good kid stories, but the one thing I learned is it's not so fun when your kids look back at you, right? It's like looking in the mirror. It's not so fun looking in the mirror.
Thank you, John.
So, yeah, my kids, I've got a 5-year-old, and she is me, but with more attitude. And she lives, I swear, on popsicles, rice, and French fries and chocolate milk. And I'm like, that is the most unhealthy diet for a 5-year-old. But we will go to a restaurant, and she's like, "I'm sorry, that's not Taco Bell rice. I only eat Taco Bell rice." And I don't even know what to do. There's some fights worth fighting. There's some fights not worth fighting. But she's like, "I'm not eating Taco Bell rice." Well, we took our kids to one of these Trump protests downtown. And we have the best community, and we had these 4 militia guys that stood on all 4 corners around them. So nobody got within the borders, and my kids were secure. But my kids found these tree sticks, kind of like John's kids with the sticks, and they were T-shaped, and they were walking around going, "Trump, Trump, Trump," with their little T-shaped sticks. So they like it.
Well, now that you mentioned food, my granddaughter was out this last summer, and she did the same thing. She wanted Taco Bell. She wanted Taco Bell rice, a burrito, or whatever. And oh, geez. But I remember one time when Logan was small, he was probably 6 or 7. He might have been a little older than that, too. He decided he didn't like pork. And of course, he doesn't like fat. So one day I'm really tired and we go to the store and here's this big old porterhouse steak. And I said, why don't I get this, Logan, and you can eat this part here, the fillet. It doesn't have any fat, and I'll eat this over here. So I don't like pork, Dad. And I said, that's not pork. And he looks at me and he says, porkerhouse, porker, pig, get it, Dad? And I didn't ridicule him or nothing. I looked at him. I says, Logan, that says porterhouse. He looked at it and kind of turned sheepish and didn't say another word.
That's funny.
Oh, that was hilarious. Porkerhouse, get it?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I had a good time with him.
My kids they're not that spoiled because, well, they're not that picky, I should say, because I'm just really strict. I say, this is what's for dinner. If you want to eat, if you don't want to eat, then... But I got to say, I don't force them to eat things that I know that they can't eat. I used to make them eat everything. Now I know there is actually things genetically that, like people, I like everything, but there is certain foods in your DNA that you actually do not like prone just to being disgusting. And it's weird because I like everything. But I'll tell you, I'll make this story short as I can. My dad never liked olives growing up, ever. Okay? I don't know why. My dad ate everything else. Did not like olives. Well, my son Rory did not like olives. Just absolutely would never eat an olive. He tried it and he's like, these are disgusting. And I always just thought that when people didn't like food, it was just strictly in their head.
Sure.
So because my kids don't have vaccines, back then you were able to get a DNA test and they can look at your DNA, the doctor, and that's kind of all out the window now, but you could get an exemption, a medical exemption for school to get your kid into school without the vaccines. And so anyways, we had this DNA report and we read through the DNA report and it says this part of his heritage prone to not liking olives. And it was like, it stood out. It was a big old like thing in his DNA. And I just thought that was so weird, and I was like, man, that's crazy. The only thing my dad didn't like was olives. And then in the DNA test, they were able to say that he wasn't going to like olives. I love olives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somehow that stuff passes down.
Can you imagine the guy that figured out how to cure olives? I mean, it's quite a process. You don't just pick them out and stick them in some salt water or something for a while.
You know what? I've never...
Use a lye.
I don't know the Ooh, lye?
Oh, yeah.
For olives? Is that bad for you?
Well, that's what they used to. I remember when I was a little kid, my mother took us to an olive processing plant. It was somewhere between Orville and Yuba City, and it was quite a process.
Wow. I don't know much about it. I've pickled a lot of things and I've fermented a lot of things, but most things you ferment is you could just do salt and water.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you'll check it out, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Down at Caldwell Park, they have some big olive trees there.
Oh, I was down there one day. I was reading, and this young couple, they come up and they start picking olives. And I walk over and I says, I'm with the county and we're charging $1.85 a pound for these. So when you get done, come on over here and we'll weigh them. Oh, really?
Did they believe you?
They started believing me till I started laughing and told them I was just teasing them. I asked them what they were going to do with them, and they were going to cure them. And I just had a pleasant conversation with them. I like to just go talk to random people.
Yeah, I think there's 4 of them kind of right there by the skate park parking lot, right?
Yeah,
Is that what you're talking about? By the
right.
The museum? They don't call it a museum anymore.
Carter House Museum, it used to be. I don't know what they call it anymore. There's the art museum there, too.
Yeah, I don't know if it's an art museum anymore. They use it for different random things. My youngest, there was like a basketball camp there. I think it's been about 2 years, but inside there was doing
teaching Tai Chi there.
Yeah, there you go.
Stuff like that. So all that went out the window when Mike Warren feathered his nest and created Turtle Bay at our expense.
Yeah, I could think of a lot of better things to spend money on, but whatever. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
So I taught Logan how to read.
Okay.
I used to take him to the library and he'd get about 20 books and go up to the checkout and they'd tell him he could only get 10. And he had the toughest time figuring out which ones he's going to call out. And then he'd sit on my lap and I'd read them to him. And one day I got the bright idea, and he wasn't 6 years old yet. And I said, Logan, every time this word comes up, you say it. And it was So I'd be reading along and I'd point to it and he'd say, A couple days later, it's the. And not too much later after that, we're sounding out words. And then he's reading them, and I'm just helping him with the really hard ones. And he was so proud when he got to first grade and he could read. That made him feel really special.
Heck yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Oh, wasn't it? It's a labor of love, and you just set them on your lap. You know, you should read to your kids every night, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't
and
read
that's a
every...
way to separate just a long string of letters into words.
Yeah.
And everyone means something. You know, I had never been around kids for any length of time. Of course, I had nephews and stuff like that. But when Logan came along, I'd never been around raising a kid, didn't have a clue how to or anything. So I volunteered at his kindergarten class, his first grade class, and his second grade class once a week. And I learned a lot.
How old is he now?
36.
36. So this is, what is that, like 25 years ago or
Yeah.
27 years? Something like that. I'm trying to think of the age. Anyways, yeah, a quarter century ago or so.
Yeah, so I went to the classes to see what the other kids were doing and how to, help Logan catch up because he couldn't even color. When he showed up, I said, here, I got him a color book. And he just took and scribbled like that. And so I hired the kid across the street, Julius, give him 50 cents an hour to come over and teach Logan how to color.
Right?
Well, you do what you got to do, And so anyway, I went to those classes, and I lived on West Street, 970 West Street. And when the city of Reading cleaned up the hood down there because they built their Taj Mahal, they scattered all the HUD people, and a bunch of them came over into not my neighborhood and pretty much ruined it. But it was fine for me if I was just by myself, but I wouldn't raise a kid there. But anyway, I went to the schools, and I thought, these kids whose parents aren't working and on subsistence, their kids are going to be really sharp. They're going to be able to be doing all their homework and be clean and everything. It was just the opposite. I couldn't believe it. The middle-class working family whose kids were in Logan's class, they were clean. They brought their own lunch. Their homework was done. And the kids whose parents were drawing, what shall we call it, welfare, they were just lost. And then some of them, a couple of them, went to homeschooling. And that was just detrimental, in my opinion, because I'd ask them, what are you guys doing this week? Oh, we're cramming because a lady's going to come over and check our school. They hadn't done anything for a month.
Yeah.
And, I mentioned
That's the thing about homeschooling is you actually have to do it. You
and
can't. Yeah.
If you put lazy people in charge of it, it's not going to get done.
Yeah.
Especially people that are using dummy dust. You ever heard it called that, dummy dust?
No, but
A friend of mine used that term the other day. We were talking about.
I think that stuff they're spraying out of the jets is dummy dust or something because I'm seeing a lot of
dumb people.
Yeah.
Most of them vote liberal, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's I don't know. I mean, I don't see a lot of critical thinking going on around me, but it's okay. It is what it is, I guess. But I think they're spraying some dummy dust in the air.
Well, this Sunday on Poke the Hornet's Nest on KQMS at 9 o'clock, I've got an article about the schools and what's going on. Actually, there's a bill that if they can get enough signatures, they'll get it on the ballot this November. It is the... Beep, 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 beep. There it is right there, the Children's Equal Educational Opportunity. And this is going to create a $17,000 a year fund for the parents to send their kid to any school they want. And it won't cost a dime because we're already paying that much money. And if you want to know more about this,
Is this statewide, nationwide?
State.
Statewide. This is a California initiative. Okay.
Yes. To where you could send your school kid to any school you want to. And if you only spent $7,000 this year, that money would carry over to next year, and it could keep carrying over to college or trade school. And the parents can't touch it. So if you've got tweaker parents, this is a new source of drug money for them. So anyway, I'm going to cover this in depth Sunday, so I'd encourage you to tune in. And Kevin Cry has had some tremendous shows on lately.
Awesome.
So anyway, some of the things with kids are so important, and they seem kind of, well, what's the big deal? One time I picked Logan up, and he says, Dad, can we go to Wickytown today? Because he couldn't pronounce Whiskey Town. Can we go to Wickytown? I says, yeah, okay. Yes. I'm going, well, geez, we're just going to go swim for a while. Of course, I'd have to pile in about half his kid. I had a single cab Ford F-250, pretty nice pickup, and I got 5 kids in there with me driving. And I tell them, okay, now if we see a highway patrolman, 3 of you duck down. I didn't have the heart to tell them I couldn't go. We don't have any room for any more kids in there. We go out and we just had a heck of a good time. I don't know if a police officer would have wrote me up for that. Does he have the heart to tell a kid he can't go swimming with his buddies?
I know, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Come on, you got to have another story. Let's hear a kid's story from Leslie or John. Leslie, we're dependent on you.
Well, you guys were talking about, I had it and then you lost it. You guys were talking earlier about your kids and reading. And my daughter, she has an old cell phone that she takes to her dad's house so she can FaceTime me while she's there. And she likes to send text messages with emojis. Again, she's 5. And I'll respond, I love you. And I know she knows all those words because we're doing the same thing with reading, and we do our Bible studies at night and read the words you know. And she writes back, Mom, I don't know how to read, but she voice texts. So she wants me to send audio messages so she can listen. And I'm like, no, I love you. You know all those words. You can, but she is so lazy when she gets access to that phone that she's just like, Mom, I don't know how to read. Or she'll say, hey, can you buy me this game? Or can you get me this? And I'm like, no, that's so you can FaceTime me.
You know, I wouldn't let Logan have a cell phone. I think he was probably pretty close to 15 when he finally got one. And I wished I hadn't given him one then. And I see kids now that they just can't even hold a conversation. They're on their damn cell phone all the time. I see babies in the stroller or in a grocery basket at the store, and they're playing with the cell phone while Mom's shopping. I think cell phones have been detrimental to our society. That's my opinion as far as educating and learning how to communicate. I see people that can't even hold a conversation. Of course, that might be attributed to too much dummy dust. But, some of those guys, they just keep talking and don't say nothing.
A lady came in the other day and she goes, can I write a check? And I go, yeah, you can write a check. And she was probably in her 70s. And I go, you still know how to write? And I go, and it wasn't that she was old. It was just that, oh, you still know how to write? I was like, most people don't know how to write anymore. And we just laughed about it. But I had to write a letter for my friend the other day, and I wrote in cursive. I actually know my handwriting's a little sloppy, but I actually know how to write in cursive and everything. And he's trying to get his gun rights back. When he was 19 years old, he stole a bike. He rode off with someone's bicycle, like a bicycle, right? So he stole someone's bike when he was 19 years old, and he is 55 now. And so he's going to get his gun rights back. He wants to get his gun rights back, but because he was a felon from 19, he hasn't been legally able to own a gun. But anyways, so I wrote a letter to the judge or to whom it may concern, and I wrote it all out, and I think it's kind of going to be a lost art here pretty soon with all the digital stuff,
Oh, it already is. My granddaughter, She and my son, her mother and my son, they split up, and her mother married a Navy guy, and they moved to San Diego, and then they moved to Hawaii, and now they are in North Carolina, where I think they're going to stay, or Tennessee. So I started writing her and sending her a self-addressed stamped envelope and for her to write me back. And it started out just color crayons and a stick man and me and you. And now her writing, her cursive writing is just absolutely spectacular. Her spelling is good. It's just unbelievable. She writes a lot better than I do. And she's getting to where she can read my letters too. I said, can you read what well, my mom has to help me.
Yeah, the last couple of years, Cole, my 7-year-old, he's been learning cursive for maybe 2 or 3 years now. He can actually write in cursive. It's pretty amazing. I thought that was really cool that they're teaching that, because I think I don't know what the standard is, in school, but I feel like it's going to be a lost art.
Well, especially with texting and that kind of stuff. What do we got going on, Leslie?
Dr. Christiane Northrup talks about that all the time, about how the healing properties of putting pen to paper and especially cursive. And then she's talked about it, and Kathy O'Brien, who is world renowned for being part of MK Ultra, she talks about how putting pen to paper will actually heal your brain from like mind control and any of the psyops and any of the stuff. So anybody who has any type of traumatic brain injury or anything like that, writing will fix that. But then also writing with your left hand, if you're right-handed, will do some neurological repairs. So if you have like early onset Alzheimer's, writing with your left hand will help to diminish that.
That's amazing. I've noticed when I handwrite a list, it's a lot different than writing a list in like the notes in my phone, which I do that sometimes. I'll put like a grocery list. My wife will send me a text message, with the list of stuff from the grocery store, and then I'll copy that and put it in my notes. So as I go and get things, I can erase it. You know what I mean? Like I'll take it off.
But when you handwrite the note,
yes,
do you not forget it as much?
That's what I was going to say is when I handwrite versus even if copy and pasting, or if I make my own list, which I try to keep notepads everywhere. But anyways, when I handwrite stuff, I never have to actually look at the list usually because it locks it in, and there's something to writing it down on, pen to paper that's magical and locks it in.
That's why if you see me in a county or city meeting, I'm taking notes feverishly. 1, it keeps my mouth shut so I get in less trouble. And 2, when I do the recaps, I really don't have to look at the notes that much because I wrote it all out. And so it like goes straight into my memory.
Let me address the left hand as opposed to the right hand. If you're right-handed, you just write it along. When you're using your left hand, you've got to really concentrate and think about what you're doing. It's not just a natural stroke. I noticed that window washing. I wash windows for a living, and I hurt my right shoulder, so I had to wash windows with my left hand. And it wasn't long till I was a better window washer with my left hand because I'm concentrating more. And, and to this day, I wash it with my left hand. I'm trying harder. It just comes natural with my right.
How funny do you look if you throw a baseball or football with your left hand? Does it look kind of funny?
I never tried.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't let me throw it. It always went to the wrong guy.
Yeah, I broke my right arm, and I've injured it a few times. I've had quite a few injuries, too many to name, but I did break my right arm, and it was in a full cast. And I had to learn how to do pretty much everything with my left hand. But I was playing basketball and doing different things, and it definitely it's challenging, and it's definitely it's good stuff to practice.
You're using a part of your brain you normally don't use.
Yeah, I don't try to write with my left hand, but
I've noticed people that never use either side of their brain. they're mostly libertards.
Right. All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up. We're over time. People already tuned out.
Well, this was fun talking about something a little bit different. Maybe we'll do it again sometime.
All right. Thanks for having me on, Nick.
Thanks for letting me in the door. Most people put up the close sign when they see me coming.